NBC's Hala Garani is reporting from Tel Aviv. Also with us, retired four-star General Barry McCaffrey, NBC News military analyst, and Ben Rhodes, former Deputy National Security Advisor and MSNBC political contributor. Hala, Prime Minister Netanyahu today said he promised to change the security balance in the north. So what's happening? What's the latest?
Well, the Lebanese people, Chris, are very resilient. They've weathered many crises, many wars, but I've spoken to some of my sources and indeed friends in that country, and they are very, very nervous. The Israeli Prime Minister has issued a message directly to civilians telling them to evacuate, to not remain in areas where the Israeli military believes Hezbollah might have hidden weaponry. But Lebanese civilians are saying, well, we don't know where some of these secret weapons are stored. They're secret, and that's the whole point. And you mentioned over 270 killed. That's a very high death toll, perhaps the highest daily death toll since the Lebanese civil war. There are people who are picking up their kids from school. There are traffic jams in the south of Lebanon, in the Bekaa Valley, where some of these bombardments are taking place. And Hezbollah is responding with rockets and projectiles of its own. We understand more than 170 or so projectiles fired by Hezbollah into the northern parts of Israel. We spoke to a man who is picking up his child from school, saying he's not taking any chances, with fears that this might really escalate into an all-out conflict between the two sides. Listen.
We're here because of the phone calls. They're calling everyone and threatening people by phone. So we're here to take my boy from school. The situation is not reassuring.
So the question is going to be, how will Hezbollah respond eventually? I mean, they have a much more powerful arsenal of weapons with missiles that could go much deeper into Israel that they have not used so far. If that happens, and that would really depend on whether Iran, the group's patron, would want it to go in that direction, then we could start seeing a much deadlier conflict, Chris.
Hala Garani, thank you for that. So, General, we've heard Israel's strategy described as escalating to de-escalate. How do you see it?
Well, military power is a very uncertain tool to communicate political objectives. It seems to me what is actually happening is the Israelis have decided politically and from a military point of view, they're going to get their people, the 70,000 some odd refugees, back into the border. The current situation is it's not going to happen until there's a truce in Gaza, which is not going to happen. And therefore, we are in the opening stages of a very bitter war. It won't occur until the IDF calls up 250,000 more troops, because they'd have to go in on the ground to actually push Hezbollah back from the frontier and eliminate the rocket threat. This is a very complex and dangerous situation. The Israelis just conducted a devastating tactical strike on Hezbollah, eliminating potentially 3,000 of their rank and file leaders with exploding pagers and walkie-talkies. And now the air campaign's reaching new intensity. So this war will be devastating for Israel also. They didn't do very well in 2006. This is going to be multiple orders of magnitude worse if they go to all-out conflict.
Well, General, you make a very good point that as terrible as what they're seeing today is, it's not in a vacuum, right? Because Israel has shown more than military might of late. The exploding devices, the targeted assassinations of militant leaders in Beirut, Damascus, even Tehran. All of it sending a very powerful psychological message to Israel's enemies. But do you think it has an impact on Hezbollah and Iran's calculations going forward?
Well, it may well have an impact on Iran. I think Iran has an enormous amount to lose. And remember, this is all backed up by 40,000 some odd U.S. forces with more on the way. And this is principally air and naval power. We will not be involved, the U.S. in a ground war in the Middle East. But having said that, I think Hezbollah has not been in any way deterred They're in a state of confusion right now, indeed panic, after the Israeli tactical devastating strike on them. But nothing strategically got changed by Israel's assassination of the Hamas operative in Tehran in the most insulting, provocative way imaginable, nor the subsequent killings of people in downtown Beirut. So Israel's pushing this toward war. They are capable of winning against Hezbollah, make no doubt about it. But this would be a war involving tens of thousands of casualties in Israel among the civilian population, as well as the IDF. So war is to be avoided if you're thinking about things strategically in Israel.
There's no doubt that that's exactly been what President Biden and many of his allies who have been involved in talks to try to de-escalate the situation in the Middle East are going to be having conversations about in the coming hours and days at the UN General Assembly. Take us inside those conversations and what you imagine they're like.
I mean, I think they're kind of challenging, Chris, to be honest, because the reality is that the Biden administration for weeks, really since the beginning of the conflict after October 7th, has been trying to avoid precisely this scenario, an escalation in Lebanon. Just days before the Patriot attacks, the Biden administration had envoy in the region seeking de-escalation. And, you know, I think rightly their assessment is that the only way to de-escalate things across the region to get those Israelis returned to their homes in northern Israel is through a ceasefire in Gaza. That appears to have unraveled. And so the challenge for the administration is that Israel is the prime actor here. They're the ones driving events. Prime Minister Netanyahu is the key decision maker, and he just doesn't appear to be listening to President Biden. And so you can talk a lot to the countries in the region. The Europeans will be concerned about this. There's huge ramifications for the U.S. if there's an escalation region-wide. It could put our service members back at some risk in places like Iraq and Syria. Obviously, there's energy prices if Iran gets into this. The Europeans worry about population flows, more refugee flows. So there's a lot of nations at the UN General Assembly that have concerns about this. But the decision maker is Bibi Netanyahu, and he does not appear to be listening to President Biden.
And he hasn't been from the very beginning of all of this, as we well know, Ben. We've only got a minute left, but there is an opportunity for President Biden to speak to Americans and to the world tomorrow, which this might be his final major speech on the world stage at the UN General Assembly. What do you expect we'll hear?
Well, I mean, normally, you know, he'd probably be wanting to lift up parts of his legacy and the support for Ukraine, but he's going to have to address the conflict of the Middle East. And I think, you know, what he needs to do is kind of paint some vision of where this is all going. It's so ad hoc and it's so day by day that, you know, there's not really a sense of how could we get out of this morass. And the ceasefire and the effort to get Saudi Arabia to normalize with Israel, those appear to be dead right now. And so there has to be some new vision for how we can get beyond this. The challenge is, as General McCaffrey said, you know, Hezbollah, they weathered the war in 2006. They weathered the Syrian civil war. They weathered the Lebanese civil war in the 80s. This is not an easy target. You can knock them back tactically. But if Israel truly is determined to go ahead with the war in Lebanon to try to defeat Hezbollah, that is just orders of magnitude bigger than anything we've seen to date, even in Gaza in terms of the scale of military ambition. So, you know, President Biden can lay out a vision for diplomacy in the region and an alternative future, but unless he can get the Israeli government to sign on to aspects of that vision, we're going to continue to be in this precarious state of escalation.